Hi everyone, welcome to the first mentoring session for BLDG 10022 course Building Structures. I'm Prakash Rodrigo. I'm a second year construction management and property student. I finished the BLDG 10022 course in 2019 with a HD mark of 95 overall, and it's a pleasure for me to be one of your mentors for this subject. Now let's share about my experience of this course and how you guys can be successful in this course. So one thing I've heard from all the students who have done the course earlier and the people who's doing the course at the moment, they say that this course is not that easy. Well, I say if you do the required work properly, you also can get a good mark like I did. So what is this required work? It's all about participating all the 10 weeks lectures. These lectures are really important. Dr. Samad explains every single concept very smoothly. He will make sure that every single student in the class understands every single concept behind all the calculations and theory that you will be learning throughout this whole 10 weeks. And also, Dr. Samad has made tutorial classes for the whole 10 weeks. He has prepared these classes in a very organized and structured and super beneficial manner for the students. These tutorials will be immense helpful for your final exam. So one thing I did was I participated all the 10 weeks lectures and the tutorials. And after I got home, the other thing that I did was I practiced all these questions that I did in tutorials and so as in the lectures. So I invite you guys, I request you guys to do the same thing. Now let's get these basic things right in order for you to be successful in getting a good mark. These five key principles are the key things that you have to do or you have to be successful before going for the exam or to be good at this course. First, you have to be good at drawing free body diagrams. Second thing, you have to know the SI basic measurement units. And the other thing, you have to know how to convert to these SI units. And you have to know how the vectors work. And you have to know how to apply all the equations that were taught to you according to the question that's given in the tutorial or even the exam. If you can do all these things, I can easily say that you will be able to answer a question properly and get a good mark like I did. Now let's talk about free body diagrams and vectors. What you actually need to know and to be successful in this kind of a question. One thing, you have to know how to draw a free body diagram. If you know how to draw a free body diagram, then it means you have halfway through in the question. And the other would be your calculations. So in order to draw a free body diagram, there are three forces that you have to know properly on how to draw the forces. One would be the roller supporter force, on how you should draw a roller supporter, and how you should draw a fixed supporter, and how you should draw a pin supporter. If you know all these, if you know how to draw the forces of these three, then it's easy for you to draw a free body diagram. After that, another thing I must say is that when you draw a free body diagram, it's basically like you are drawing a picture without any graphics or any fancy pictures. So basically, if you get a question, you have to imagine how this question looks like, or you have to take it to a paper and you draw it from your own without any fancy pictures. You just have to draw some lines and then you have to show how the forces work. And then if you are good at drawing these forces, then you know how where the forces has worked, and then you have to do only the calculations left and you have only calculations to do. If you're still not sure on how to draw a free body diagram, well, it's high time for you to go and speak to your lecturer or your tutor as soon as possible. The staff is really friendly and super helpful. I'm pretty sure Dr. Samad will help you to understand to draw a free body diagram because he has helped me as well in understanding this concept very well. So as my tutor. Now these are the basic SI measurement units that you should know th- for the whole course. Nothing more than this. So you have to know that you measure length by meters, you measure mass by kilogram, and you measure time by seconds, and you measure force by Newton. So in the question or in the tutorials, if you get a not a non-SI unit, uh, if it appears a non-SI unit, you have to ensure that you convert it to an SI unit, as I have given in the slide, where you have to make kilometers to meters. Kilometers is not the SI unit, you have to make it meters, as we measure length by meters. If it's megagram, you have to make it to kilogram. If it's milliseconds, you have to convert it to seconds. If it's tera newton, I'm sorry, if it's tera newton, you have to convert it to Newton. I have attached a picture in this slide where you have uh, seen this throughout your tutorial in your first week. So this will be immense help for you to convert to SI units. I've attached a video link before in the slide, so you all can click the video link and refresh your knowledge again. These are some of the equations that you have already come across throughout the course so far. These are the equations without the week 8 and week 9 uh, equations. So when you go through all these equations, as an example, if you have to know what resultant force is and how to calculate the resultant force. Well, resultant force is basically like when two or more forces act on an object. The resultant force can be found by adding up the individual forces. Then you have to know how forces work. It should be zero when it's in equilibrium. Equilibrium means the structure is at it's not moving, it's just stay as it is. So all the forces are in balance. And then if this balanced structure gets a force, if an external force appears to be in the structure, and if this structure goes to bend when it's in equilibrium, we call it a momentum, where we take the force and multiply by the length. And you have to know how to calculate the stress. Stress is basically like the compression or the tension you take the force per unit area, you calculate by the Pascal. And you have to know how to calculate strain. You take the deformation length and divided by the original length, and this is basically a ratio. And in you have to know dead load and live load. Well, dead load is basically the permanent forces in a structure, and the live load is basically temporary forces in a structure. So as an example, for dead load, you can get the slab, the column, and the beams. And live loads, you find people, desks, chairs. Those are temporary forces in a building. So how to calculate dead load? So you have to take the unit weight of material, which is normally given in the exam or in the tutorial. So it's in a table where the question will say what kind of material that is used, and you have to take the unit weight of it, and then you have to multiply by the volume of the member, which is the maybe the slab or the column or the beam. So make sure when you calculate the volume of the member, please make sure what kind of shape that has in the member. So when you calculate the volume, it could be different for different shapes. So make sure you have to understand what what this volume would be. Okay. So live load, it's you take the area of the member, not the volume of the member. Dead load, you take the volume of the member, and after that you have to multiply by the uniformly distributed load, which is also normally given in the exam or in the tutorial. So this could be something like where the forces work, could be a place. So you take that area, the uniformly distributed load, and you multiply by the area of the member. And wind load is super easy. It's just you take the wind load pressure and you multiply by the area. Please do not worry, we will be talking a lot more about this in the future, so you can understand how you guys can apply these equations in a very easy manner, like how we as mentors did in our exams and your tutorials. So this is something important that you all have to know. As you all know that you don't need to know all the equations to solve the problem, because the equation depends on what the question you get. But sometimes you will have to play with those equations. Now, what does that mean? So let's take an example. In the question, you might get the pressure and a force of a particular circular object. We'll say we'll take the stress. Okay, the stress is given, the force is given. So the question will ask what is the radius of the object, rather than asking you the area of it straight away. So this is something that a university student must think. They don't want, or the examiner doesn't want you to straight away take the area of a subject. He wants you to think a bit more or do a bit more work in the exam. So something like this. So expect questions like this. But when you practice, now like I said in the earlier, you have to practice, practice, practice. So when you practice, always remember that you practice in many different ways. Like if the question could come in many different ways, like if I take this example, think that you have the radius, now calculate the pressure. Think that you don't have the pressure figure right now. Now you have to calculate the pressure. Think that you have the radius, think that you have the pressure, now you have to calculate the force. So like many different ways the question could be asked from you, the examiner will ask from you. So that's what I did, and that's what I did during my whole 10 weeks of this course. Throughout the practice, I was practicing the other way also. I was practicing the normal way that was taught in the tutorial, and I practiced the other working backwards also. So that way it helped me immense. I'm telling you, this is a very important thing. It helped me very well throughout the exam. I would say that. I want to say that because I need to highlight that. Okay, so that's really really important. When you practice, always remember, try to think this question in many different ways, and that's how it will help you to enhance your knowledge. Even your tutorials are structured like that. If you do a question, a next question, it will be different, but you have to calculate a different one. That's how Dr. Samad has organized these tutorials. I really enjoy these tutorials. Okay, so I want you all to do the same thing. So think uh, differently. Okay, don't do the same thing. It's good to do the same thing. First do the same thing as per the tutorial, and then think many different ways that this question will appear. So, how to prepare for the final exam? So, the only advice I can give you as your mentor is to do the tutorial questions and read the lecture material all over again before the exam. It's very important. Okay, you have to understand the theory before you go and do the calculations. Dr. Samad's lecture material, you have every single detail information given in the lecture material. So, it's very important how you read those uh, lecture materials and then do your tutorials. Okay, and like I said, practice is really important. When practicing, learn how you can relate two equations together as well and finding the required answer. This means, like, take as an example, you you have two equations, sometimes an equation that you learn in the first 3 weeks, and sometimes you will have to take an equation that you have learned in week 9 to find an answer. Could be something like that. So when you practice, do that as well. Okay, and Dr. Samad will highlight really important things in your last week for you to specifically look into before the exam. Please go through those as well, as those are really really important for your final exam. Okay, and what I can promise is that if you do all those right, getting a HD for the final exam is really easy. Okay, before I go for the next slide, I must say, when you practice your tutorials, always remember that you practice the normal way and the backward way as well. Okay, so in this slide I just want to say that I will be your mentor for the next 4 weeks of this course. Dr. Samad, your tutor and your mentor, will be there to answer the subject matters you have and help you find answers for those issues. And if you have any issues regards to this course, please email me in the attached email in the slide, so I can help you all out to clarify any clarifications you need of this subject. And one thing I need to say before I finish my video, if you do your homework right, you will also get a good HD like me. Thank you.